Welcome to the Hot Spotting Real Estate Podcast. This is a bi-weekly podcast that talks about all things real estate with a splash of real-life topics. So tune in and let's keep it real. Hello, and welcome to the Hot Spotting Real Estate Podcast. And it's our first return guest, which is exciting.
I'm honored.
And we have Bridget Zamora here. And I'll give you a brief bio on Bridget. If you haven't listened to her previous episode with Natalie Pebbles, you should definitely tune in. But for those who haven't and aren't familiar with her, she's born in Torrance and raised in Orange County, California. She's a Cal State Long Beach alum, and she graduated summa cum laude with a degree in business communication and a minor in comparative world literature. And she's been married for 2 years, still 2 years, right?
3 years.
3 years, there we go, 3 years. And she lives in Lake Forest with her 2-year-old Rottweiler. And she is now the director of real estate at Philz Coffee. Welcome back.
Thank you so much for having me back.
How are you?
I'm doing really well.
All right. We transitioned you. You were previously at Del Taco,
Yes.
and now you're at Philz. And she was kind enough to bring me some coffee today, which is splendid.
I only had to arrive fully armed with all of our wonderful products.
Yes. And I'm very excited to try all of them. I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
How's it going?
It's been quite a year.
Yeah. Has it been a year?
Almost. April
Wow.
will be 1 year with my time at Philz.
Oh, man.
It goes by fast.
It's fast. For those of you who are not familiar with Philz, it's a very popular coffee brand. And where was it formed? Where was the first location?
So I love the origin story.
Let's hear it all.
That's kind of really what attracted me to the brand.
Okay.
So I'm from an immigrant family. I think you also have
Yes.
a second generation as well from immigrant families. So when I learned the story of Phil's, it resonated so much with me. So Phil immigrated into America. He moved to San Francisco in the late 70s, and he started a little bodega in the Mission District of San Francisco. And, you know, what he missed most about home was in his community, every night the families would open up their homes and they would invite the whole neighborhood and they'd come together and just share coffee.
Oh, wow.
So it was this huge part of just what made him feel at home. It brought people together. And when he moved to San Francisco, he wasn't able to duplicate that. So he really started this mission to set out and create an amazing product, coffee. So he spent many years traveling the entire United States, tasting coffee, going to different coffee shops. And he ended up spending 7 years working on the very first blend, which I brought for you today, which is Tesoro. It means treasure.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it's such a good blend. It's my favorite. We have 16 custom blends, but I always go back to the Tesoro because it's what started it all.
It smells amazing, this thing. I mean, it smells amazing.
Even when I pick up the bags, I'll leave them in my car. You know, I'm always in my car.
Yeah.
And, you know, by the time I get home the next day, I'll get in my car and I'm like, oh, it smells so good.
Yeah.
But, so we are celebrating our 20th anniversary this year. Really, 2003 was when he basically, you know, committed to the Philz concept.
Nice.
And turned that little bodega into a Philz. And now we're almost at 70 locations throughout California and Chicago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
How many do you guys have in Chicago area?
We have 6.
6?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
And I did a ton of work with Del Taco in Chicago, so I'm very excited to continue to work deal making in that market as well.
Very cool. And you're the director, and what areas are you in control of, and what's the growth plan for you guys?
Sure, yeah. So luckily, as director of real estate, I'm the only deal maker, which is really nice. I report to the chief development officer. And we're just really focusing on very strategic, moderate growth in our existing markets. You know, we want to be responsible about it, but we also have so much white space.
Yeah.
You know, you look at the competition, just how many stores you could possibly do, and there's so much runway for Philz to grow in our existing markets. Obviously, I live in Orange County. Southern California is a huge area of focus for us. So it was great that they didn't require me to relocate.
Yeah.
It's an easy hop up to Northern California, and even Chicago's pretty easy to get to. But I think, you know, would love to do probably anywhere from 8 to 12 stores, you know, next year, this year. probably for the next couple years. I think that's
great.
a comfortable growth number for us.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
This is a good question. So coffee nowadays is very competitive.
Yes.
You got Starbucks, and then not only them, but some regional guys, and then you have the independents coming in.
Sure.
How do you guys navigate through that coffee genre when you're trying to find sites, and then specifically drive-thrus? Because you guys do drive-thrus,
We
right?
do, yeah.
Okay.
Well, I think the tough part is you're up against the big green giant that I always like to
Yes.
say. They're on every corner, basically.
Right.
So the biggest challenge when deal making is just finding a center that doesn't already have a coffee exclusive.
Yeah.
So that's challenge number one. So anytime that we can get in a center that either doesn't have coffee or you're seeing like a Starbucks vacate to go to a drive-through, we've had a lot of great opportunities to be able to backfill second generation space.
Oh, nice.
But I've always approached deal making where I don't really try to focus on competition.
Right. You're going with the real estate and what your requirements are and what are we looking for.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, the biggest
It's a good
challenge,
approach.
yeah, the biggest challenge for me in just deal making is finding the balance between what will the landlord accept and what pencils, when I take it to committee.
Yeah.
So the biggest challenge is just kind of our own requirements. Can I make this deal make sense and be profitable for our company? When I started in the industry, there was kind of this attitude of like, well, don't get too close to other retailers. At the end of the day, they're your competition. It's like, come on. Like, I just felt like we've talked about it on the last podcast, coming together,
You have to.
sharing information. We're stronger together. So I still keep that opinion even in a new genre, with just coffee.
Yeah.
And I honestly think there's even more demand for coffee because it's so habitual. It's part of people's daily routine. I think that there always will be space for more options. And I think people kind of crave more options, to be honest.
Yeah.
You're lucky you live in LA. There's so many amazing coffee concepts.
Too many.
Maybe.
But it's fun to see. Like
is.
even seeing the independent guys, come in. It's kind of cool.
Yeah. But I mean, I live in Orange County. There's really not a lot of choices.
Well, there isn't a lot of developments either, and we're built differently here. Like,
yeah, totally.
I remember down here on Ventura, there's a shack in Studio City. Like literally, it's like maybe a 6x6, independent coffee guy went in there.
Yeah, and made it work.
Right? There's a line.
Well, people seek it out. It's just such a routine.
Yeah.
But in my mind, when I looked at Philz's potential, I'm coming off of traveling the entire United States for 10 years with my last brand, and I know that they have no other option.
Yeah.
It's Starbucks everywhere.
Yeah.
And when I worked at Del Taco, I would hear people say in small markets, "We're so sick of Taco Bell. We just want another option." And I really gravitated towards Philz for that same reason.
Yeah.
That most of the time, and I was one of them, I just wanted something different.
It's true.
You just want some variety. And I'll take it even a step further. I drank coffee out of necessity.
Yeah.
Like, I wasn't a huge coffee fan.
Right.
And I didn't even start drinking coffee till I was 25. And it was because I was up at 4:30, long drives, falling asleep at the wheel. Like, oh, this is why people drink coffee.
There you go. I get it.
Yeah. So I had just been trained to drink Starbucks because it was convenient.
Right.
And then, I started drinking Philz, and you realize, wow, what a difference good coffee makes.
It's true.
And it changes your whole flavor palette. And then you go back and you think, oh, how was I drinking that? Like, life is too short for bad coffee.
Yeah.
They
have a pretty big following.
They do.
A lot of people that I've talked to about Philz, they're like, oh, it's so good.
Yes.
And it's never been like, it's okay. Everybody said, like, it's amazing. I wish we had one,
Yeah, yeah. Well, and our subscription service has a lot to do with that too.
Oh,
so
okay.
even outside of our existing markets, you'll meet people that'll be like from Vegas or, even New York. We got people that go online and subscribe to our Bean subscription just because they came to San Francisco on vacation.
And they had it. This is amazing.
Yeah, went home, fell in love with it. So that brand recognition is there, but we know we want to be responsible in our growth. because we see the potential for what Philz could be.
That's amazing. When you're selecting sites, because I know you also have a mobile order component.
Yes.
What little tweak do you guys need to look at when you're looking at sites, like to make sure that you're going to be, sufficient enough or, efficient enough to have that mobile order component?
So I would say mobile order has more impacted the business than the site selection process. Okay. Maybe a little bit of both. COVID for Philz, it hit them very hard because they're San Francisco based.
Right.
So a huge majority of their stores are in San Francisco.
Right.
So when everything got shut down, I mean, it was crazy,
Yeah.
So that's really where mobile order picked up.
Yeah.
And we have an amazing app.
Did you have that in place before COVID?
We did.
Okay,
yeah.
cool.
But I think, in the past, Philz was kind of a hangout destination. People came, they wanted the whole experience. It was more of a, you come and you bring your computer and you hang out for a while.
Right.
And then when things are shut down, people still want the product. So mobile order kind of opened up that convenience side of the business.
Yeah.
So I do think that translates in real estate where you have a portion of the business that's destination.
Right.
And you can choose real estate that way. But there is a pretty big importance on convenience. So when it comes to mobile ordering, it's a huge part of how we lay out our stores.
Got it.
So I would say we're very cognizant of it in our test fit, the way we're building, a station just for mobile ordering now.
Right.
Designating baristas just to that because it's such a huge part of our business.
To fulfill just the mobile orders.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah. And then obviously short-term parking's very important when it comes to mobile order. But I think that is just what, I come from a QSR background.
Yeah.
So all of that is what we think about. Do we have the visibility? Is it easy to get in and out of?
Right.
Do we have enough parking, circulation? I think Philz in the past, because they were so urban, core-centric, they couldn't check all those boxes and they didn't really need to because it's intrinsic in that culture up there. So people, they would hunt them out.
Right.
But I think as we grow, the company is starting to acknowledge we got to go with a traditional real estate site selection criteria.
Can you give us some of the site characteristics and requirements for Philz, like what size and all that detail?
I love that Philz is really nimble. Like we said, we'll do drive-through, but we will do inline as well.
Okay.
We can go from 1,500 square feet to 2,300, which is great for second-generation spaces.
Yeah.
It's really opened up a ton of opportunities for us. We're still a smaller company, so we're not doing ground leases. We don't really have the development capability that we would go build our own building. And I'm sure, as you know, that's incredibly cumbersome in today's environment right now.
Yeah.
So it's really nice that we can be a brand that really just seeks out vanilla shell, leverage, existing spaces or newer developments. But want to have that end cap presence.
Right.
We're really targeting tier 1 markets across Southern California, really like kind of that higher end retail co-tenancy, just looking for unique, very destinational areas for the brand.
Got it. So that end cap drive-through is one of your favorite.
That would be ideal.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's a lot of developments that have that component in. You just have to beat out your competition on getting a freestanding ground lease situation.
The really unique thing about Philz that I was not used to is it's a brand that landlords actually really want to have.
Right.
So for the first time in my career, I have landlords calling me saying, I want Philz in my center, as opposed to me calling and begging, please consider us.
Can we get in here?
Yes. And the flip side too is we do have landlords that are just sick of dealing with Starbucks. And, they may not have a great relationship with them, or they've just been asking for anything and everything. And they're over it. They're done. They just want to deal with a new person. And that's really where the relationship side of the business is so crucial in a competitive environment like coffee.
Is there like specific areas that you want to sound off just in case you want to get any?
Irvine.
Irvine, please.
Everyone at the Irvine company, please let Philz in.
Where's your OC location now?
So we have one at South Coast Plaza.
Okay.
We're across the street off of Sunflower and Bristol. We've got quite a few. So we've got Orange Circle in Old Town Orange. We converted a KFC by Cal State Fullerton. So that's
cool.
our drive-through location.
Nice.
That's doing great. The customers really are able to adopt to the drive-through model with the Philz brand because some people are a little skeptical.
Yeah. How many drive-throughs do you guys have?
Just the one.
So that's the one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. I mean, we're a pour over concept.
Yeah.
It does take a little bit longer. Each cup is handcrafted. I mean, that's what makes it so good. When you order, they're grinding your beans right there, making each cup customized to you.
That's awesome.
So it does take a little bit longer, but the brand's been so nimble coming out of COVID that they've leveraged the mobile ordering speed of service has just really increased.
Right.
So it's all in an effort to help us grow.
That's awesome. We'll come back to like any more characteristics and requirement stuff for Philz, but I wanted to just talk about the transition that you had from going from one company to the next.
Yeah.
How was that?
Crazy. It was a really challenging year.
Mm-hmm.
I would say, December of 2021, if you had asked me, I would have thought I'd retire with Del Taco. Like it was how I entered the industry. It was all I knew. I was so loyal to that brand. And then the morning of ICSC in Vegas, 4 a.m.
I remember that.
Yeah, the news release comes out, and my phone is just blowing up that Jack in the Box is going to buy.
Where people do we still have our meeting?
Everybody. Yeah, everybody. The whole department's on a meeting at 7 a.m.
Which booth do I go to?
Well, it's so funny because people always said, God, that show was terrible. And I'm like, not for me. Our booth is just tons of people. We were hoarded that show. And, we even told our boss, like, really, you had to do this the day of the conference? Because everybody came up saying, what's going to happen? The funniest part was everyone would be like, oh, it's going to be okay. I'm like, what, am I dying? Like, they just acted like, the clock is ticking. You're not going to last very long. But, I had an open mind to it in the beginning. I was very involved in the beginning stages, prior to the final merger, getting to see the inside of Jack in the Box. And I do truly believe it will be great for the brand.
Right.
Del Taco had always struggled with supply chain issues. Mm-hmm. They were kind of right in that middle size company. And it was just so hard to get over that hump when it came to making the deal economics work, being able to enter all these great markets. Right. It just economically did not make sense. So all these problems that we had, Jack in the Box is going to solve them, right? Because they have so many resources. And when you looked at a map of where Jack in the Box was and where Del Taco was, the voids were perfectly aligned. So I could see how great it would be for both brands. But it was a big wake-up call for me because I fell into the job.
And that was your first
job.
You're in.
First corporate interview out of college.
Yeah.
So, I didn't even know what the job was when I went to the interview.
Yeah.
So it kind of made me just stop and say, okay, this is a perfect moment for you to actually have some advocacy in your life. You don't have to go along with this. I probably wouldn't have ever gone out and applied to work at Jack in the Box. It wasn't something that I wanted to do. Yeah. So I kind of said, gosh, when the two brands merge, it's this clean slate. Yeah. And a perfect chance for me to go out and find a company that I like and that I want to develop and be more involved in kind of the world that I create around me. Yeah. And selfishly, I just loved Philz and I wanted it by my house. Perfect. And I said, gosh, I'll just go do the real estate. Yeah. So it was, I heard that Patty Nelson, who did work with Pete's and Coffee Bean and Subway, right? She got hired on as the chief development officer. Which is great. And that alone was like, that's all I needed to hear. Yeah. And I sent her my resume and it was one of those things where you just know. Yeah. My husband was like, Bridget, really? Like, if you're going to make this decision, don't you want to go out and play the field and like really see what's out there? And I go, you know what? I can just tell.
So that was your only...
I kind of had... Why?
Come on. The story's better. Like, I applied for Del Taco and I got in. I applied to Philz and I'm in. You're batting 100.
I had maybe like one or two others, but I just realized kind of what I wanted in my life. And the other big thing was travel. I had been traveling for 9 years. And those last 5 years was all East Coast.
Yeah.
And I
I'm
burned
kind of done
out.
with that.
I had like my last trip to Florida was just one of those nightmare trips where I locked my keys in the car at 5:30 in the morning, missed my flight.
Nice.
Just everything that could go wrong went wrong. And I'm like, this is a sign. This is a sign. I'm done with.
And now you're just,
travel.
the furthest you're traveling is Chicago, let's say, which isn't
Northern
that
California.
often, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
And NorCal.
Yeah, which is like a day trip.
Yeah, which NorCal, you make a weekend out of it most of the time. That's cool.
So
amazing. Well, that's good. I'm glad I think you're a great fit for them. And, anybody who's, would be amazing to have you. But, I think Philz is a really good fit for you.
Yeah. It's nice to be the customer. I love the concept just as a consumer. And it's even more fulfilling when you can go build those stores and see them open. Yeah. And then they're also part of your life.
It's true. A lot of brands, I'll say this and I won't give any names, but I know a lot of brands, some people are not even the customer of the brand, which, for one reason or another, fine, dietary, whatever it is. But it's always great if you're, eating, drinking, sleeping the brand.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're going to just be more successful because you're so supportive of it.
Well, that's what drives your passion.
Yeah, that's awesome. So what's the size criteria was 1,500 to 2,500. They'll do drive-throughs. 2,200. Okay. And then you guys will do drive-throughs, end caps, second gen preferred.
Yeah.
Vanilla shell, no ground leases. For
Not
now.
yet.
For now.
Not yet.
Yeah. I have high hopes for you guys.
Thank you.
I think you guys will be a brand that'll be growing pretty quick soon and be around for a long time. Just because I've heard the feedback from customers and, even from big coffee drinkers, they love the brand. So, I think it's going to be a good run for you guys.
Thank you. We're very excited.
Well, I appreciate you coming on again to talk about this, but let's go on to my daughter's questions because that's the important part of the show.
Okay.
And I know you've answered a lot of these, but I'm excited to hear them again.
Sure.
All right. So let's hear what Alessandra wants to know. Question number 1.
What are some of your hobbies?
Well, I will try to mix it up because I've picked up some new hobbies, I guess, in the last year. I picked up oil painting.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Just for fun to keep me busy.
And how's it going?
It's good.
Yeah. Are you on canvas?
Oh, yeah.
And like, how big are we going right now?
Not very big.
Not very
I've only
big.
completed one painting.
One painting. All right. So you're just on the beginning.
Yes. And then my other hobby that kind of, again, came out of necessity instead of just by choice is dog training.
Yeah?
Yeah. Because when we got our Rottweiler, that was a big responsibility. He was a COVID puppy, and my husband really instilled in me, I'm like, this is not a joke breed. This breed is...
Like, you got to get on it.
Yes. So we watched a ton of videos on dog training. And
Cesar Millan or other ones?
Larry Crone. He's on
Who's that?
YouTube. He's from Kentucky, and he does an amazing job with bully breeds.
Oh,
so
cool.
we bought all his books, followed him religiously. And, I would get up with the dogs at 5 a.m. We would do routines, tons of training work.
Wow.
And it's really paid off. So it's nice now that he's older and you don't have to do as much active training. You can kind of just see him become this really well-behaved dog. And we go out on our grain belt and he's off leash and the whole neighborhood knows him.
Oh, that's great.
We're debating about getting another dog. So I'm like, am I mentally prepared
to train another dog?
To do all the training again.
Well, you might as well. It's fresh in your head still.
Exactly. It's kind of, maybe one day we'll start a family. And I'm like, well, do we do the dog first? It's there's a lot of balance.
I get it. Let's go to question number 2.
Do you have a favorite sports team?
That has not changed.
Not changed. What was it?
Still nothing.
Still nothing. That's right.
And I won't even lie about it.
As you shouldn't.
I just can't.
As you shouldn't.
Especially
I should change it up for people that are not into sports.
You're such a big sports fan.
Yeah.
I can't fake it.
Yeah.
So
I could change this for you and say, do you have a favorite movie?
Oh, that's so hard.
I don't know. Give me one.
I mean, probably Lord of the Rings.
Oh, yeah. I forgot. That's your whole... We need a separate podcast for that.
If we want to talk like Marvel, sci-fi, fantasy, well, we could spend hours doing that.
That's amazing. You know, it's fun. I think I told you, but my podcast editor, he's big on comics and I think Marvel and all that whole genre.
The online community.
Yeah.
Of it, and this is kind of where I think it mirrors sports, is like we'll watch content, whether it's, you know, The Witcher or Lord of the Rings or, you know, like The Last of Us just came out. And there are people that will, you know, post videos and break everything down.
Yeah.
And they go into all the backstory and.
Do you listen to that?
Oh, absolutely.
I'm going to send you his, I think I told you this last time. I should send it to you. His Instagram profile. They have that same thing.
Yeah.
But you said Last of Us because that's a video game, right?
Yes.
I started watching that.
Okay.
I'm caught up.
Good.
Are you caught up?
Well, yes. Well, see, I don't play video games. My husband does. And I always say this, like, I grew up with brothers and boy cousins, and they prepped me for my life. But I used to watch them play video games.
Right.
So now I just watch my husband play video games. So I know the whole story of Last of Us.
And they say it's pretty close. The show is very close to the video game.
Yes. And it's very hard for Hollywood to replicate video games. It's been a terrible track record. And because gamers spend hours diving into backstory. I mean, it's amazing what these video game creators do. Just the layers of so much detail. Right. And that's why it's such a cherished part of the fans' lives. Yeah. So they have to be really careful. It's a lot of pressure.
It's been pretty good.
Yeah.
He's on SNL, the main characters on SNL.
Pedro Pascal is so talented. Everything he does.
That's great casting.
Yes.
So it's been good so far.
Absolutely.
We're gonna keep watching it.
Good.
All right, let's go to the next question.
What is your favorite food?
Well, I did bring you Cuban flan that we talked about last time. So Cuban food is still very much
the flan that you brought me, is that your flan?
Yeah.
You brought me your flan?
Yes.
Oh my God, I'm so excited. Oh, wow.
I had to.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I just, in the theme of real estate, I was so excited when Porto's announced that they're building a downtown Disney.
I know, crazy, huh?
That was one of those moments where you think, God, I wish I could have done that deal.
Yeah.
Like, can you imagine what that deal was like?
And it's going to be like, that line is going to be crazy.
I don't know how they're going to manage it.
Yeah.
I mean, have you ever been to their...
Burbank?
No, the Orange County location.
Orange County?
Right by Knott's Berry Farm.
No. Busy?
It's insane. Well, my ongoing joke was Porto's is the Disneyland of Cuban food because you stand in switchback lines. So you stand in a line to get in, then you stand in a line to get the cake, you stand in a line to get, the pastries. So it's just the irony that now they're going to be at Disneyland, which I love. I think it'll be fantastic.
Yeah, it's I wonder which part they're going in, do you know?
I think they're taking the old La Brea Bakery. So right at the tram exit at the entrance.
They're going to kill it there. Good for you guys, Portos. Yes. We support.
We do.
All right, here's the last question for you.
If you can live anywhere in the world, where would it be?
Ooh, that's a good one. That's very tough.
It is.
It's when you're young, she forgets the second half of that question, which is if you had all the money in the world.
Yes, this is, of course, assumed. It's assumed that there's no barrier.
Yeah.
Like you could go anywhere.
If I'm just filthy rich and can live anywhere.
100%. That's the question.
I've always dreamed of living in New York.
Yeah?
Like I spent a lot of time there when I was doing work in New Jersey for Del Taco, and I would just pop over to New York and would just walk around the city and just envision what life would be like. But again, I'd imagine you'd have to have a lot of money to really enjoy living there. And then I am in the process of hopefully planning a trip to Spain. So maybe next time you invite me back, I'll say I'll live in Spain.
There you go. I've never been to New York.
Really?
Yeah.
It's just so different from West Coast life.
Yeah.
And I think when you're born and raised out here and you go there, it is a culture shock because it's just us. When you look around, it's different. Just the pace is different. People are different, but it just has this really cool air about it. That it's just appealing to me.
Yeah, my wife's been saying we should go to New York, and I'm like, okay, maybe, but I think I have to go and check it out.
Yeah, you got to do Broadway. You don't even really have to plan anything. You just walk around, and you'll have the most amazing pizza. You'll eat great Italian food.
Nice, it's exciting.
It is.
I'm gonna plan it.
You should.
Well, I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate you bringing me the goodies.
Yes.
I'm excited about the flan. You'll get my feedback.
Okay.
We will not be putting the recipe of the flan in the show notes.
No, we will not.
That is secret. But it's always a pleasure. I'm glad you came back, and I'm glad to see that you're doing so well. And Philz is lucky to have you, so I appreciate it.
And congratulations on the podcast.
Thank you so much.
Such an amazing work to have in our industry. People talk about it all the time. So many people come up to me and say, I listened to your episode and learned so much about you. So just keep up the great work.
That's it. That's the goal, to keep it working like that. Now, it's a natural networking thing, so I'm glad it's working.
Absolutely.
All right. I appreciate you. Just a reminder, please take the time to subscribe to this podcast and leave us a rating and review. It's greatly appreciated. You can also follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Hot Spotting Podcast. If any listeners have any questions or topics they would like to hear on the show, or if you simply want to connect, you can email me at mike@hotspotproperties.net. Once again, thank you for listening. It's been real.